Ah, I see. You stumbled upon this video, either by accident, or perhaps you were looking for a way to deal with toxic players. You will learn this, and you probably already know how. It's not the most uncommon knowledge. You probably even done it before. But you will learn that it's probably not the best idea. And we'll get to that. So how about you just sit back, relax, and I tell you all about it. But first, some background knowledge on myself and why I think my input is relevant. I'm not a Masters player. I'm not a pro. I'm not at the top. I've been Diamond at the highest, and I've also been in Bronze. I trolled in Bronze, but I have been there. I'm usually around Platinum and Gold. So I can say from my wide variety of Smite play and the people I've seen along the way that this information that I've found out over 6 years is pretty relevant, because it's not something a pro player encounters at low ranks. Of course, toxicity exists at the top right. It's natural, and I'm sure when they smurf sometimes they probably see it as well. But I live in it, and I think that makes me a little bit more qualified in this sense. Obviously, when it comes to playing Smite characters, builds, that's all them. I couldn't tell you. I just build what I think is right, and most of the time it's okay, but not optimal. So with that in mind, I think I can talk about this with confidence that I know what I'm talking about. Let's begin with toxicity in general and the many forms it consists of. We all know the classic spam pinging, late in lane, you're jungling, they get a 2-minute rotation, and you're still like, I don't know, getting mid harpies. And you see enemy missing middle, enemy missing middle, enemy missing middle. And you start pinging, both your people in duo get killed, and you're like, wow, that sucks. And the whole time, they're blaming you for that. And deep down in your heart, you remember saying missing. And you're probably thinking, man, they even have a vision shard. And we saw them walk over it, so they should have known, but it's still somehow my fault. We've all been there. Sometimes it is your fault. It is. It's the truth. I've been there. Sometimes I'm like, oh, whoops, I forgot. But that's Smite. Just gotta deal with it. And then the good old classic that we all know, you rock cancel that. You rock cancel that is as ancient as Smite is for, Smite been out for like 8 years? It's been there since beginning of that. If you played on consoles, you rock no before cancel that was out. Truly a classic. But we all know, you do anything bad, or you don't die with someone, or you dive and you don't get the kill, you see you rock cancel that, you rock cancel that, you rock cancel that. It's a Smite classic that no one can forget, we all love. Then you got the kill stealing, the toxic players that like to wait until the very last second to steal your kill, and then now that they're like 11 and 20, like 5 minutes in, you're thinking, wow, I have all these assists and they have all these kills, but their damage is probably really low because all they do is get the last hits. Those are my favorite. Then you got the same people who do that'll point out KD, but not KDA. Let's make that clear. They do not point out KDA. They don't care about your assist. You could have all the assists in the world as like a Sobek, as a support Sobek, and they don't care. The fact that you have one kill, like maybe 13 deaths, even though it's been like an hour game, right? And you've gotten maybe 50 plus assists, they don't care. You've died 13 times with one kill. You suck. You just suck. And then there's the one person that'll say their whole team is bad and they're good, even though they're feeding, but it's because you guys suck that they suck. And if you guys were better, they would be doing better. So it's never their own fault. Or they'll call out one specific person who's doing bad, and then they'll try to blame the whole game on that one person. And some people will like stick to that. They'll think, wow, this person's going 0 and 5. He's doing bad. And it's true. You are. You're doing pretty bad. But they're also probably like 0 and 3 in their own lane. And they're thinking, wow, I'm going 0 and 3 because the other guy's going 0 and 5. I'm going to hop on this bandwagon so I don't feel as bad about myself. And then more people get toxic. You got the people who let you die on purpose. Like maybe you got a salty Khepri, and they'll purposely not ult you. They'll look you right in the eyes, you die. Then they'll run away with their little nasty beetle legs and then ult themselves when they're low. Those are my favorite. But just like anyone in general who like watch you die and not help. It's sad, but that's toxicity. And then this usually happens later in the game when they get fed up. They'll start split pushing or not helping the team anymore. Like they'll be pushing mid or like right, and you'll see them like getting your red, and then they get like the enemy team will get both your phoenixes, and they finally get red, and they'll finally decide to back, but it's too late by then. That's so classic. Smite's fun. Then you got AFKing. Just they won't leave because they want that favor, and they don't want to be reported for leaving. So the AFK, which is still getting reported for, but you don't lose that favor, and that's what's important. Now let's talk about the multiple ways to counter toxicity. There are three main options that you've probably heard of, or have noticed, or have done. There's probably videos on it. There's probably people talking about it. There's probably someone talking after they died on how to do this in Smite. This is kind of common knowledge, but I'll lay it out in case you've never heard them. Your best option by far is to be calm and try to calm them down. They're agitated right now. They want to fight everything. They want to prove that you suck and that they don't suck, because now they feel better about themselves. So if you're not the butt end of this, if they're mad at someone else, try to calm them down without defending the other person too much and without attacking the other person too much. Just be like, yeah, he's having a bad game. It happens to all of us. It does. We all have bad games. We do. It's just what happens in Smite. The best players feed their brains out every once in a while. It just happens. So hopefully their human instincts start popping up back in, and they realize instead of being a very angry animal, we can have a civilized conversation and get back to playing this game that is still very winnable. And the most important thing is to just have fun. And if it's ranked, there's not much you can do, because if you say you're just having fun, they'll get on you and be like, go to casual, go to casual. So if you're playing casual, it's fine. If you're playing ranked, I wouldn't even try to calm them down. At least, or if you're going to calm them down, don't say to have fun. Just say the game is winnable. It's much more realistic. Speaking of realistic, comes to our second option here, to ignore them. I'd say about 90% of the time, the right option that most people will do is to ignore them or mute them. You don't have to worry about them anymore. If they decide to feed, if they decide to split push, do bad, other people will report them too. It's fine. It is. Okay? It is. If the whole team is getting on you, I guess you can mute all of them. There's not much you really can do. I wouldn't turn into a toxic player because the whole team is being toxic. I would just try to change up your play style, because most of the time, if the whole team is on you, you're probably feeding. I can't imagine them not getting on you unless you're feeding, or if you're the jungler and every lane is getting like destroyed. So if that's the case, switch up your play style. Try to be more defensive. Try to play more smart. And that should work. Most of the time. Doesn't always work, but it's a realistic option. Your worst option, and the last one, is to fight back. And I'm sure a lot of you have fought back, because I know I have. When you fight back, you crank their toxicity to the max, because now they have fuel. Because now, it's not just a fight to prove you're better than everyone, it's a fight to prove that he's better than you in every single way. He'll attack your KDA, he'll attack how you play, about how you dive, he'll start attacking you personally. He'll say things that you're like, wow, my mom would slap me if I said that anywhere near her. And there's not really much you can do about it. You chose to fight, so now you gotta keep fighting. You gotta call them out on what they did. If you suck, then they must be worse, and you gotta prove it to them. Most of the time you won't. Most of the time you end up bickering the whole time until you lose or surrender. And then you'll fight after the game is over for a little bit. Then one of you leave, and you go on with your lives. It's no big deal. Or you see him next game, and then if he's on the opposite team and he kills you, he will focus you and laugh at you. And if he's on your team, then he'll purposely start feeding or being toxic right away. But that's Smite. If that's the case, I recommend skipping a queue or changing game modes for a little bit. But yeah, those are your 3 main options. Choose them wisely. The first 2 are way better than the last one, but the last one is kind of funny. So, take that as you will. Now, for why you're here. Your reason for clicking on this video. The big cheese and the meat potatoes on how to make a toxic player rage quit, baby. Few things before we start. I am not condoning you do this. You will be a huge troll. A big one. A big, fat, stinky, disgusting troll. I'm guilty of being that big, fat, disgusting troll. I don't think you should. But if you want to be funny, if you want to have a few laughs, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Especially if they were probably going to leave anyway, because they're getting pretty tilted. But, big disclaimer, if you do this, I need you to promise me, I know there's no way for you to keep this up, but please promise me you will not report the person you made rage quit. Because that is objectively and morally wrong. I don't care how toxic this person was. Unless they said some really, derogatory things, and you do not want to see that, because you're, family friendly, then fine, I guess. But even then, you shouldn't do this. You should just wait for the game to be over and report them. So if you're going to do this, you promise me and yourself you will not report the person you're getting, to rage quit. Because it's wrong. Because you are just as bad as them by making them do this. Just as bad. I cannot tell you how bad of a troll you are to make someone rage quit. That is so bad. Like I said, I've done it before. It is funny. It is. But I have never once reported a person I've done it to. Because it's wrong. It's so wrong. So please, do not. Do not report them. If you do that, then by all means, get ready for it. Because here it comes. Step 1. You're looking for a few things here. Just a few things to take this off. Are you either highest damage, top kills, lowest deaths, top assists, made a great call or calls, or any combination of those? Could be all, 1, 2, any number. If you are, move to step 3. Or if you want to add further insult and make this stronger, continue to step 2. Step 2 is to look at their stats now. Are they lowest damage, which I guess you can't tell, but you can kind of have a feeling. Most deaths, least kills, made terrible calls. Terrible. Least assists, or any combination of those. And that's step 2. Step 3. Now's the time to speak thy mind. You tell them everything you just found out. I'm top damage. And you're lowest damage. I have way more kills than you. You died so many times. You suck. And this is to get them riled up. Everything you found. Man, your calls are terrible. My fire giant call literally got us 2 towers and a phoenix. You gotta rile them. But in a way, it's kind of forcing them down. And like I said earlier, this is rude and trolly. You're like a bad person for doing this. I'm letting you know now. You are, okay? Everyone around you's like, dang, this guy is really rude. You're just as bad as the toxic players before you. And the one you're trying to get quit. But now, here's where you step it up even further to interrupt their gameplay. You have to body block them. It doesn't matter where. There's better times to do it, especially if they're going to die. But if you do it out of spawn, ooh, that tilts them just a little bit more. You can feel their blood boil. Say you're going to go in, say attack middle lane, and you watch them jump in with whatever character they are, and you just let them die. Oh boy, does that rile them up. Their blood boils. If you could see them right now, a vein is popping on their head. If you are on her, Ymir, Terra, or some other wall god that I'm missing, I don't think Odin counts, stop them from backing. This sends them into overdrive, especially if they are really tilted. And the most important thing that I found from all my years of playing Smite and making people leave is to steal their buff. If they are jungling, this works like 100 times better. If you go with them to get their buff and you say take this jungle buff and you blink into it or like some other way to taking it, they usually leave right after that. Like that's the final straw for them. Usually. Sometimes they'll stay and they'll just get really tilted or they'll stop playing. Like they won't leave but they'll stay and spawn, which I think in a way is kind of the same thing. That does it. And if that still doesn't work, you just repeat everything I just told you. All the steps. You do that the whole game. And I promise you, at least 60% of the time, that toxic player has had enough and will leave. And I will say, he's probably more mature than you for doing that. Because you're a bad person for this. And yeah, I've done it before. I'm a terrible person. I'm an awful person. But it's because I've done it that I can talk about this. And just to reiterate, the buff thing is so important. You don't understand. That alone has made people rage quit from what I've seen. So, all of that should do it. If that's the reason you came, you can leave. But I have some more important things to talk about. That if you stay, you'll learn why you're a bad person. And why what you just did is wrong. And how to fix it. Which we're getting into right now. So, some things to consider about why you're a bad person. You threw this game. Sorry, but you single-handedly just threw that whole game because you just made it a 4v5. That's the truth. That person that just left, he may have been awful. He may have been toxic. But all his damage, all his tanking, and all his presence is gone now because you made him leave. So, you just made 3 other people's lives so much worse. And guess what? You can't surrender. Because if you do, you're even worse of a person. Because now, he's gonna get a penalty. And people are gonna report him. So you're an awful person for doing this. Sorry, not sorry. It's the truth. You're bad. And you're mad. Because now people probably will report you for doing it. So, be wary. You're a bad person. There's consequences to it. There are. Second thing, more than likely, you probably just ganged up on them and bullied them. They may have been toxic. They may have said some rude things. But if everyone in your lobby, on your team, and probably after, although it doesn't matter if they left, is going to roast that person for leaving and for being toxic. And they won't roast you most of the time because they'll be on your side if you made them gang up on the person. And that's so bad. Like, you don't understand how bad of a person it is. You just straight up bullied someone. And sure, it was over a game of Smite. Smite of all games. You bullied someone on Smite. I will not condone you for bullying that person. I don't condone myself from doing it. When I do it, I make sure to not make sure other people, like, bandwagon off of me. Because it's wrong. You should not gang up on other people. If you want to do this, this is on you and you alone. Don't drag your friends into this. Don't drag randoms into this. This is you. You deal with it. Don't make other people support you. Because no one should support your antics if you're doing this. And that's why it's wrong. And here's how to fix it. Realize from this video, if you try this and you see it, I want you to take a step back and look at yourself and think, wow, I really just did that. I am just as bad, if not worse, than the person I just tried to make quit. What is wrong with me? I shouldn't do this ever again. In fact, I probably shouldn't be toxic in general because it's just not fun for anyone. It's not. You took it too far by doing this. You did. Sometimes it's funny. Honestly, most of the time it's funny. But when you take a step back and you really look at it, it's wrong. It is. I'll be the first one to tell you that. It's wrong. I would not recommend anyone to do it. I really wouldn't, especially if you're doing it with friends, because they'll naturally gang up with you, and that just makes such a toxic environment. And the Smite community will not change. It'll just get worse. So to take from this is to not do this. Or if you do it, think about all the consequences and learn from it. And I think that I'm probably the best person, or at least one of the best people to talk about this. Because I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in like season 3 and 4, I can't remember which. I know it was on the Chinese Joust map. I was the most toxic person ever. I was everything I listed in the beginning, and I was the person trying to make people rage quit. I was that person. I was terrible. I'm surprised I wasn't banned. Legitimately. I was so bad. And in this specific game, on Joust on the Chinese map, I was so toxic. And it was a console, mind you, right? Because I was a console player back in the day. And I would send messages to people. That's how, like, ugly and disgusting of a person I was. It was terrible. And there was one guy in voice chat. And I wasn't, because I didn't talk, because, I was too much of a wuss. But I was calling him out. I was so angry. And you know what this guy did? He had the most calm voice ever. The most understanding tone. He was like, I get you're upset, man. I do. It's the god over there. It's kind of tough and annoying to fight. Honestly, it's just kind of annoying. I don't blame you for doing bad. I don't blame myself for doing bad. It's just how Smite is. And I legitimately had a shock. Like, I stopped and I had to look at myself. I was like, oh my god. Why am I being toxic? Like this guy is right. Like, just enjoy the game. What's my problem? And so, after that, I kept saying sorry in the game because I felt legitimately bad. I sent the guy a message later saying I'm really sorry for how I was. And I thanked him for, like, correcting me. And he didn't even mean to do it. He was just being a genuinely nice guy. And I don't remember his name. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. There's no reason. That game wasn't that noticeable other than me being toxic. But it really stuck with me. I still think about it. Every time I somewhat get even kind of toxic in a game, I think about it. I think, am I going too far? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with some toxicity. That's the truth. There isn't. I think everyone has it in them. Just a little bit. It's just Smite. But when it goes too far, I think everyone needs to realize that. And that deep down, this is still a game. Even if ranked, it's just a game. You could be a pro player. I bet it frustrates you when you lose. I bet you can get tilted. But at the end of the day, it's just a game. And yeah, like I said, for pros, you get tilted. And it's their job, right? I can kind of understand that. That's, like, kind of different. But for the rest of us who just play it, what difference does it make if we win or lose? If we're toxic, right? Like, why would we rather win and be super toxic than lose and just be kind of friendly and chill? It just makes a better environment, and that's an environment I think we need. Legitimately, I think that's what Smite players need, is just a better environment. I think that'll honestly grow Smite, is that people saw our community and thought, wow, I've never played a MOBA before, or I've played a League a little bit. Smite is so much different, but the community is so nice. And, like, sure, people are toxic every once in a while, but I feel like I can learn here and not be like, you rock cancel that ad, you know? And I think that's what people really should take away from this video if anyone sees it. Is that it's not wrong to be toxic. It's wrong to be too toxic. And if you do what I told you make rage people quit, you are too toxic. I'm sorry, you are. I was back then, because that's when I did it. I was way too toxic of a person. So far. And I'm glad that person, way back then on that Joust map, taught me different. Because I'm a better person because of it. And honestly, I wish I could thank him again. I hope if he sees this video, which I'm sure he won't, he knows I'm talking about him. I hope so. I really do. Because he was a great guy. And I hope you all consider that after watching this video. And so, we reached the end of the video. I would like to thank each and every one of you who watched this video for watching till the end. It means a lot. Little shameless plug, I do stream. My Twitch will be in the description. You probably noticed there's no other videos on this channel because it's my first one ever. Sorry if the quality of the mic sucks. because it does. It's terrible. It's bad. It's a lot of awkward pauses. Editing's not that great. I'm new to this. I'm really sorry. I hope to get better in the future. It's been my dream. And actually, two popular Smite content creators got me to do this. Hatmaster and the other Frost. I've watched them for a long time now, and I don't know, something in me decided to make this video and stream on Twitch. So if you want to check me out, that means great. That means a lot. Trust me, it does. I know I'm awkward. I know my voice kind of sounds weird, and this mic isn't that great, which I said already. But, yeah. You don't need to subscribe and like this video. You don't. I will not beg you for it. All I ask is you share it to other people. Show other people the message behind this. Not to make toxic people rage quit. I know it's a clickbait title. I know it's a clickbait subject. But the real message behind this. Please. Please do. Because that means a lot. It means this video was not wasted if people learn. Because if our community gets healthier and happier, that's enough for me. It really is. I mean that. Because what that guy did back on that Joust map really struck a chord in me. Way back then, years ago. I mean years, at least 5 or 4 years ago. It struck a chord in me. And it's translated to other things. Other games, I'm not toxic in as I used to be. I used to be toxic in a lot of things. And that alone, like, transferred. And it probably transfers into real life. So, if you could please share this with people you know of this community, maybe in other communities. I think that this video, even though it's about Smite, can be transferred to a lot of things. We can all grow. And that's enough for me. It really, truly is. So, don't subscribe unless you want to. Don't like unless you want to. Please feel free to dislike if you think this video sucks, because quality, the mic is terrible, my voice is awkward, I stutter a lot, and it's my first video ever, so the editing's garbage. Please, feel free to tell me all that down in the comments. Any concerns you have, I'll happily listen into. And just, let's get better together. I still need to improve. I'm sure other people need to improve. But if we take a positive step, then this video was without a doubt worth it. So thank you for listening in. Comment if you want me to make other videos or any concerns. And thank you very much. It means a lot for listening in this entire time.